Well, what's up guys, this is Daniel from Arms Family Homestead, and in today's video I want to cover a topic that I get asked multiple times a week, and that is, how many goats can I keep per acre? So this is probably the most common question I get asked on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram when it pertains to goats here. Like old Skip, look at her, she likes her back scratched. People always want to know, how many goats can I keep per acre? Or how big of a pen do I need to keep my goats in? Or how many, goats can I keep where I live? Well, so there's several things to consider. First off, we need to consider your goals. Second, we're gonna have to consider what breed of goats do you have. Third, we're gonna have to consider where you live, because that's gonna make a huge difference. And fourth, we're gonna have to consider how much money are you wanting to put into this project. So let's start with goals. What are your goals? So are you getting into goats just to keep something on your land to kind of help keep the brush under control? Are you getting into the serious meat production? Are you going to be a dairy farmer? What are your goals? We need to know what your goals for your piece of property are. When I first started with goats, we got a couple bottle babies just to have for the kids to enjoy and have fun with. We really didn't have any specific land management goals, but as we progressed into more and more goats on our property, got a larger herd, we had boars, and then we switched to Kikos. My goal is to keep the brush under control, which I live on 110 acres, and my goats free range most of the year. But from about September through March, they're pinned up. They're definitely pinned up from October through December every year. I'm 100%. They're in about a 2-acre pen here because that's deer season. But my goals are to turn my goats out so they can control the brush up to about head high. You need to consider what your goals are. If you're wanting to get the most out of every square foot of your land, you're gonna have to do things like rotational grazing. You're gonna have to consider, all right, here's how many acres I have, and I need to break it up to where I can rotate my goats on fresh ground every at least every 3 weeks or so you can stay ahead of that internal parasite egg cycle. You want to stay ahead of those worms. So if you've got, say, 10 acres and you want to get the most grazing ability out of your land, because think about it, goats, I've talked about this a lot, goats are like a deer, they browse. They're not like a horse or a cow. They don't graze per se. If given the option, a goat's going to come along and all he's going to do is just trim the tops of your grass or your forage, whatever they're grazing on or eating on, or they're just gonna browse. Goats aren't grazers, okay? They're very picky eaters. When it comes to eating, goats are very picky. So if you can set, say, 10 acres up on 5 2-acre plots, if you have one perimeter fence on the outside and use maybe an electrical barrier so you can rotate them, you're gonna get a lot more use out of your land, okay? So first off, always consider your goals. Think about that first, okay? Second is you're gonna have to consider what kind of breed of goats you're getting. I've got Kiko meat goats. They're a big large framed goat. They're not quite as big as, say, boars. Boars are gonna take a lot more feed input than Kikos. But there's some smaller goats. You're gonna get into like the Nigerian dwarves or pygmies. You can obviously put a lot more goats per acre on a smaller framed goat herd than if you've got like boars or Kikos. So your breed selection really makes a huge difference, because I would say something like a Nigerian dwarf or a pygmy, you could probably double the stocking rate over a full large frame goat like a boar or a Kiko. Third kind of goes along with the breed. What are your goals for that breed? Are you wanting a dairy? Are you wanting a meat goat? Are you wanting kind of a combination? A lot of people say, hey, you've got Kikos, but could you milk those? Well, yes, you could. The original Kikos came from New Zealand, and they kind of mixed them with a little bit of a dairy goat breed to put a little bit more milk on them and worked them from there. But what are your specific goals? Are you wanting meat goats? Are you wanting to put meat in your own freezer? Are you wanting to milk an animal for dairy products? Because if you're wanting dairy products, don't go get a meat goat breed and just try to milk it, because it's not going to work out for you. If you're kind of wanting to do the best of both worlds, I would say go with like get some really good high quality dairy goat does and put something like a Kiko or a Spanish or a Boer buck on them, and then you'll have a crossbreed that you can have a really good slaughter goat. You'll raise the kids and slaughter those and have your doe for milk. So the next thing you need to consider is your location. Do you live in the far north? Do you live in the far south, east, west? If you're in the United States, or if you're in another country, what is your property like? And how many months out of the year are you going to be able to sustain your goat herd on that natural forage? If you live, in the extreme northern part of the country where it's a much colder climate, you're really going to be feeding a lot more grain and hay a lot longer throughout the year. If you live, somewhere like Oklahoma, we've got a pretty long growing season. So from about easily April through September, we've got good green forage. But then we've got people that live in Texas, South Texas, where they may go through extended periods of drought. So your location, where you live, and what your specific property looks like is going to be a huge factor in determining how many goats per acre you can run. Because goats aren't like cows. Everyone says, they can figure out a really good stocking rate of how many cows per acre their property will run. Well, with goats, it's just a little bit different because there's so many factors involved, and goats eat differently than cattle. So to me, that's probably one of the biggest factors that's going to determine how many goats per acre you can run is your location. What is your property like? How much natural forage do you have on your property? And how many months of the year do you think you'll be able to sustain those goats without having to feed them extra grain and hay? On to the next topic, and that is money, the bottom line. How much money are you willing to put into this farm venture? And how much freaking flies, aggravating. I hate it when a fly lands on my face when I'm talking. Anyways, so how much money are you wanting to put into this venture, and how much money are you wanting to continue to pour into it? Because if you're someone that's just wanting to get goats to help maintain your property and them kind of do their thing, and you not have to put a lot into them, you're not going to get as much growth out of it. You're not going to make as much profit on the backside if you're wanting to sell your excess kids. If you're wanting to make the most money possible, you're gonna have to put a little bit more into them. You're gonna need to really consider feeding things like alfalfa, hay, and extra grain, because you want those kids to grow as much as possible when they're little. You want to put as many pounds per day on those goats in a short amount of time. You want their growth to spike. Me personally, my goals, flies are driving me crazy. My goals are to put as few dollars, I want my cost down as low as possible. I want to put as little money into them as I have to. So I give them a lot of acres to roam and a very low stocking rate. If you're wanting to make the most out of them, you're going to have to put a little bit more into them. Kind of boils down to that. Are you wanting to make the most profit, or are you wanting to utilize them to help your property? There's kind of a fine line there. There's a balance. You could do both. I'm not saying you can't, but you just got to consider how much money you're wanting to spend. Flies. Bear, you haven't made much of an appearance on this video. Everyone loves to see you, Bear, so you got to come say hi at least. Everybody say hi to Bear. Bear's like the superstar in the goat pen, aren't you? He likes his ears scratched. Don't you? Look at you. You're something else. So, I know that probably isn't the answer. Golly, Bear, you just need some loving. We're gonna have to take a time out from the video just to love on Bear. Huh. Bear needs loving too. Yeah, you do, don't you? That's probably not the answer everyone was hoping for, but it's not an easy answer. It's not a question that we can just go, all right, guys, you can run 2 goats per acre, you can run 6 goats per acre. It's all going to depend on so many different factors. And it's just something you're gonna have to learn for your specific property. Everyone wants to know how big of an area they need for goats. Well, that just depends. It really depends. Some people can run 6 to 10 goats per acre on their property, and some people may struggle with 2 goats per acre on their property. So just kind of play with it over time. Start small. Start off with, say, 2 to 4 goats per acre, and if it looks like you can handle more, get a few more. If it looks like you're not able to handle that many, then back off a little bit. Bear, you're killing me, man. You're killing me. You're making this so difficult here, bud. Yeah. So I hope that answers a few questions, guys. I get so many questions about how many goats can I run per acre, and I've been wanting to answer this question for a long time. Look at you creeping up on the video. Been wanting to answer this question for a long time, but it's just not an easy question to answer. If you're new to the channel, I'd sure love for you to subscribe. We do a variety of content, but we've got a whole playlist just around goats, goat care and maintenance. I'll leave a link to that playlist up here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're always up to something fun, aren't we, Bear? Huh. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any other questions or ideas for video content around the whole meat goat world, there's my goat herd over there. Just leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll see what we can do, see if we can get your questions answered. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Y'all have a great day, and as always, we'll see you on the next video.